And I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And it looks like we are just about 4 o'clock, our start time, or 4 o'clock here on the East Coast. And I'm seeing here in the chat that we've got folks from Guatemala City and from Denmark and from Chile and Kuwait and from Maryland. I'm here in New York today and just really excited to spend some time with you all to talk about project ideas for the science classroom with Book Creator. So if you can let me know in the chat area, you can do the all panelists or all panelists and attendees drop down. So whichever one, just let me know that you can see me, you can hear me, you can see my screen here, and I've got the subtitles down here at the bottom too. Well, thank you. Welcome everyone. Thank you for letting me know that you can hear me and see me, folks from Chicago and California, and wonderful. And so I am in the share screen mode here in Zoom webinar. So sometimes that takes over your screen too. If you don't love my live captionings at the bottom and you'd rather come out of that mode, feel free to make your screen a little bit smaller or cut it off kind of down at the bottom, and that'll take care of it for you. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about science classroom project ideas today. So really excited about this topic. If you have questions, feel free to place your questions in the chat area or the Q&A area. I am here and John is here to answer questions behind the scenes as well. But welcome, welcome. We are just so excited that you are going to spend some time with us today, hopefully making and creating a book with me as well. We haven't met before. My name is Monica Burns. I'm an ed tech and curriculum consultant, founder of ClassTechTips.com. That's my blog. You can find my podcast there too. And on Instagram at ClassTechTips. And I am a Book Creator ambassador. Book Creator is one of my go-to tools, and I'm so excited to partner with Book Creator to jump in and do these webinars. We've been doing them a whole bunch this year, just about once a month now into the fall. And this topic is all about science projects. Now, this one is being recorded. It'll go up on Book Creator's YouTube channel. If you do not subscribe to their YouTube channel, I highly recommend it because they have so many great resources there. And that's not just my videos, but all the videos that they've got there are super duper useful. Now, today, we're going to start off with a quick overview of Book Creator. We'll talk about Book Creator in the science classrooms and some specific features within Book Creator that make it really wonderful for science classrooms. We'll look at some science project ideas as we talk about those features, and we will jump in, and I'm going to invite you into a library. So if you are live with me here during the webinar, I'm hoping that you'll open up another web browser. You'll jump in and make and create a book with me today. So I'm curious, and I'd love to hear from you in the chat. Let me know, how familiar are you with Book Creator? Are you a power super user? You've used it for a couple years with students all the time. Are you opening it up for the first time today as we try and you want to play along with us? Are you someone who's used it a little bit every once in a while, maybe revisiting it, or the science projects topic grabbed your attention? Let me know, let us know in the chat area. It'll just help me make sure that as we're going through, I'm pointing out certain things or sharing with you. So we've got some beginner, intermediate, dabbled a little bit. So loving all of this sharing happening. So used it with grade 6 classes this year, first year, but using it a lot, which is awesome. So keep it coming. Keep letting me know. I've got my eyes there on the chat as well as on the slide deck here as well. So a few things that I do want to make sure to point out, and you'll hear me talk about it a little bit as we go through too, is that there are some great remote learning resources from Book Creator. They have an ebook resource. If you've used Book Creator in the past, you know that collaboration is an awesome feature for classrooms that are using in a remote learning initiative. They've got webinars for at-home learning, as well as some workflow tips. And you'll hear me mention a lot of these workflow tips as we go into our conversation today. So if you are pretty new to Book Creator or a first-time user, Book Creator is an open-ended creation tool for iOS, Chrome, and the web. Students and teachers can create and publish books with Book Creator. It's super simple to make interactive pages with voice and text and video and images and a lot more that we'll take a look at together today. And students of all ages can use Book Creator, so it's really dynamic. I know I've sat side by side with elementary school students all the way up to adult learners remotely using this tool. So many different ways to use Book Creator. And as you'll see today, as we go in and take a look together, you can set up libraries for students. You can invite them into those libraries. And there is just so much that you can do with Book Creator. So although today we're going to focus on science projects, this is an open-ended creation tool, meaning you can use it to make digital portfolios, comics, poetry books, step-by-step guides, learning journals. And if you are totally new to Book Creator, John just put a link into the chat area with some of the resources for webinars, including getting started webinars. And this one is going to be recorded. Marina, I just saw your message as well. And so there's lots of that you can sign up for if you want to join a live webinar. John put the link in there and they are recorded as well. So a couple things for our conversation today. Some of you may be working with students physically all together in a classroom, concurrently with some students at home, some in a classroom, hybrid with a switch, or all remote learners outside of the classroom. If that's the case, setting up a teacher account like we're going to do together today is a great way to start. You'll want to share login protocols with families so families all know how to jump in and use Book Creator. You will want to use the libraries to check in on different students' books, which is kind of what you'll see me do today when I get us all in, making and creating together. Now, of course, an important note about access and priorities as we're thinking about using resources this year, you'll want to make sure that you're positioning this resource in the context of different academic goals that you might have or SEL goals that you might have, or as an add-on for families that are looking to go a little bit deeper into using the technology they may now have access to at home. You'll want to share ideas and your expectations with families and do what needs to happen in order to support them along the way. So today, you're going to hear me take you out. We're going to make and create inside of Book Creator. You might want to head over already to app.bookcreator.com. I'm going to take you through the login process together, but you might want to head over there already. You're going to see that I will toggle from student sign in to teacher sign in. And then once we get in, we'll create a library together. We'll create some books inside of this space. And so that's going to be our plan today, to talk about science projects, make a science project live with you today, and hopefully get you inside of the library that I'll create in order to try out some books and model the same sort of workflow you might use with your group of students. So let's go ahead. I want you to just watch me set up a new library. You might open up another web browser at the same time too. So here's my Chrome browser. I'm at app.bookcreator.com and I'm already logged in. Just to show you what this looks like in an incognito window, or one where I haven't logged in just yet, the student sign in is the default. You will toggle over to teacher sign in. I use Google single sign on, so single sign on with Google here. You can use Microsoft or your own email to set up an account. Once you're in, you'll get a couple kind of onboarding questions to make sure you get the right resources and recommendations that are perfect for your current learning environment. And then we'll jump into the library area. Now, my libraries are pretty full. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom to make a new one for us for today. You can see I use this all the time with different groups, and I'm going to go to create a new library. Now, this is where we today are going to do a science project ebook. So along with our theme, you're going to see in a moment when I introduce it, we'll be talking about different animals. So we're going to do some animal ebooks together today. Now, when you get into this library, I'll invite you in a little bit. You're going to be able to do a Google image search. I'm going to put that, say allow. I'm going to allow you to edit your own books. I will let you see each other's and read each other's books. So be mindful of that when we get inside. And then you can publish your books online if I toggle this on, but for today, I'm just going to keep it toggled off, and I'm going to go to create a new library. Now that I'm in this library, when I'm ready to get started and I want to invite you in, I'll give you an invite code the same way you would give that code to students, and then I'm going to go in and create a new book. So let's go ahead back to our slide deck here to talk about a few more things, and then we'll start making and creating together. I encourage you, if you haven't already, I put that link in the chat area. Sign in, create a new account at app.bookcreator.com, because I have a feeling once we jump in, you're going to want to get started and making your own book with us today. So a few things that you'll see me share during our session includes bunch of activities from a free ebook that we'll link out to with 15 science projects for Book Creator Classroom. So that has some of the resources that we're going to look at together today. But when we talk about Book Creator in the science classroom, we really want to think about all the different ways students can share their learning, show what they know in any content component, any unit of study, whatever it might be that is your topic that you're working on with your group. So for example, we're going to do a kind of animal ebooks for our sciencey project today, but you might decide that you're going to have students transform their lab reports or take their research about earth science topic, or they are going to snap pictures of all the steps of their science experiment. So all things that you might consider from right here within this tool. So our first thing to consider is adding text to your project. So students might include a text summary, give an overview of a topic, or even add captions to images they add on the page. When it comes to video, kids might add video to their books, showcasing a little clip of an experiment. Maybe they snapped that video file on another device and then upload it here to Book Creator. Or maybe they go straight to camera like me today and give a reflection and talk about a goal that they have for what they're working on in the science classroom. Now, a couple examples of this in action. You might have students doing some healthy eating work in your science classroom. So you might have them creating a book full of recipes, maybe their favorite trail mixes or favorite sandwich recipes or something healthy like that. Maybe it's their favorite fruit salad combo. And so here they're able to take their writing, add it straight here onto the page. And you'll see me go out as we add text to the page in a bit, but here's one text heavy example. Again, when you have students add video, they might snap video from a nature walk, like this example. So you might have students snap a picture or two, record a video, and add that to their book. Now, for all of these, as we look at these different components, right, you might have students pull in images instead of video. So maybe this is a time lapse where they are looking at a bean plant growing over time and they snap a new picture every day. Maybe they have images that show before and after. So a science experiment, perhaps, where they're showing before and after, or maybe they're taking screenshots from within other tools. So imagine they're running some data on a screen, or maybe have something hooked up to an Excel spreadsheet. They might take a screenshot of that and add it into their ebook. So as you can kind of consider what this might look like in action, right, you might have students snap an image with a whole bunch of different leaves that they've found, or they might do a walk through a space, and here they can go ahead and see all different things that might pop up and snap pictures along the way. Or you might have students search for images. There's a built-in Google image search into Book Creator. They can add that image right below a piece of text and maybe even record their voice next to it, giving a fact about sedimentary, igneous, metamorphic rocks. You name it, this is where your content and the structure that you share with students comes into play. Now, you might also decide to have students embed links like maps or widgets or reference materials. This is something that you can have students add in as well. So let's go and start our journal together Think about some of the things that we would include inside of this space, and then I'm going to encourage you to kind of get started alongside with me. So I want to show you the embeds and adding maps and links and some of those components, since we looked at some text and video or images already. So remember, I'm here in Book Creator. I'm going to go to my new book. I typically show off the landscape one, the plain one, but comics are awesome too. So I don't want you to think that I'm being dismissive of comics. So here is my landscape page, my cover. And if I wanted to add any of the things that we've talked about so far, right, I can go to my text button, I can record my voice, I can add with the pen, snapping pictures with the camera, or import. And this is where you see some of those links that I mentioned, or the map embed. So I might go here to maps and I might type in the name of a place. So maybe if I'm doing something with different types of animals, I want to talk about a specific place, like maybe I want to go to the San Diego Zoo and add a map to the zoo onto my page, or maybe I want to go to a natural habitat and add that in. So there's no wrong or right way to do this, right? It's all about finding that place, and
Hey,
then I
Monica.
add that in. Yep.
Monica, can I stop you for a second? We're getting a couple of people in the chat that are mentioning they can't see your screen. All I see is your keynote screen. I'm not seeing
Oh, you know
the
what?
book.
Yeah, it looks like my share might have just grabbed that screen. So I'm going to go ahead and reshare. Thank you for pointing that out. I'm going to go to my desktop here. Oh, here we go. Can you see it now?
Yep, now we're good. Thank you, Monica.
Thanks. Yeah, that little green Zoom bar is now taking up my whole screen, so that's perfect. So here we are back into Book Creator, and I'll take you through the getting started steps when we're ready to all jump into the library as well. So here I am with my plus sign. I can add all sorts of things to the screen. I was just talking you through the maps option where I can search for a place and add that in. And here I just added a little bit, right? Well, this is my full map here, but here's my little zoom in of San Diego Zoo for this example. So we're going to create some journals together. I'm going to walk you through some different pages, and you'll kind of see as we take a look at some projects as we go through our time together today. Now, in addition to embedding links like a map or a widget or reference materials like you saw me just do, you might also use the Shapes tool. So this might be something where you look at graphic organizers and the layout that you want on the page. So plenty of options here to consider. As you see in this example, I've got a T-chart using the line shape tool to show living things and non-living things in the tundra, or you might even have students use the shape tool to pull out these thought bubbles to capture questions that they have. So lots of options here inside of Book Creator. Now, in addition to shapes, you might also have students add audio. So they can record their audio and they can capture anecdotes or stories or explanations where they're talking about something. So lots of different ways to make this work, right? Or make that happen, where you may want students to share in a few different ways. Now, as we look at some audio examples here, you can see this diagram of a cell, and I'm pointing to different parts of it and recording the voice there, right, is going right next to it. Or you might have students create a little story that goes along with a science topic and record their voice sharing the story, like the adventures in the forest with Steve the Leaf, like you see right here. Now, when adding any of these things, you might also want to use a pen tool for annotations or illustrations. So you might have students, and I'll jump back over here to Book Creator, use this plus sign, go ahead and grab the pen tool where they might draw something. Maybe it's like an arrow like this one here, and then they can even spin this drawing and layer it on top of something else, right? So lots of things that you can do here. The pen tool is great for annotations and illustrations as well. So a couple more examples before we jump in and start creating a book together. You might have students create a book with some fun facts about anything, right? Whatever it might be that they are studying, you might have them list those facts on a page. This would be great for a collaborative book if kids are finding fun facts about something that's kind of a common topic in your class. You might have students create a book about a problem in the community, maybe something around recycling or a science topic that they're investigating. You might have them spotlight an animal. We're going to do an animal project together in just a moment where I'm hoping to get you all in and creating books in my library. Or you might even have students use the book creator to gather some examples of some different types of resources around one big topic. So giving that sort of curated list where they might evaluate some sources and pull them all together. Now, you can have students use the shape tool in lots of engaging ways to create their own graphics, like this one, where they're a combination of a triangle and a rectangle, and then the lever label right above it. Or you might decide that you are going to have students make more of a science journal. And every day they can put in what they capture about today's weather and maybe even a prediction for the next day based on what they've researched or found. And they can record their voice as they add this to the page. Now, in this example, you can see there's an annotation or labeling ready to go. So instead of using the pen tool, you might have students use the arrow or the shape tool to label and point out different things that they find. Or you might even have students do what you see in this great example here from Book Creator's blog, where they label each part, they layer on top, right, this picture, and are able to add that component too. Here's another great example from Book Creator's blog from a computer science classroom. So many different things that you can do. Now, what I'm hoping we can do together is to jump in and make a book. So I'm going to create a title page, and then I'm going to invite you into my library so you can see what it's like to get started. So I'm going to jump back out here. I'm just going to clear my page. And for this one, I'm going to go to my plus sign. I'm going to go to my text tool, and I'm just going to put a title, and I'm going to do a book all about polar bears. Now, this text is a little small for a title, so I'm going to click to make sure it's got blue around it. Go to my eye inspector, make it a little bit bigger here, stretch it out, change the font. I've got lots and lots of choices here, so I can go ahead and choose one and maybe even change the color, maybe a dark blue here. So I've got a title page so far for my animal project all about polar bears, but I want you to jump in and make and create with me. So what you're going to do is, if you're already logged in as a teacher, you're going to scroll down to the very bottom where it says join a library. I'm in a couple libraries already. So you're going to hit join a library. And when you do, you're going to be asked to put in a code. So let me go get that code for you. So here in my dashboard with all of my books on my bookshelf here, I'm going to go to invite code. And this is the code that you are going to use when you join my library. So I'm going to put this code right down there into the chat area. So I'm hoping you can jump in, make some books in our shared library, and I'm going to point out a couple things that are special for science projects that I think you might want to consider or to check out as well. So let me see if we've got anyone in here. Oh, we've got a few people in here already. So to take you through those steps again, you're going to log in at our app.bookcreator.com. So remember, you're going to log in as a teacher. Then when you scroll all the way to the bottom of your screen, you might have to scroll a little bit less than my busy one. You're going to go to join a library. And that's where you're going to put in the SHNX87V or that code that we put into the chat area. We've got 13 of you in here already. You, of course, don't have to, but you are welcome to join in and make and create with us today. And you'll go here to where it says new book and create a new book in this space. And as I refresh my page here and take a look on the screen, you're going to see, yep, a whole bunch of them are popping up. So Kathy, I saw your message there to join in. John put a link right above it that gives some more instructions, but where it says join a library, you'll find that in the teacher dashboard library. Scroll all the way to the bottom where it says shared with me, and you'll see the join a library option right there. It looks like a bunch of us are in here already. I see Kathleen and Lori's books, and I'm going to go ahead and find mine. So as we're making these projects, a few things that are important to consider in a science classroom specifically. So we're using animal profiles to be the vehicle for our conversation, but there's a few different ways that you can use it. So I've got my title here on the screen. Then I can go ahead to my import button and I can import images and add them to my page. So I'm going to go ahead and do that live for you. I've got my plus sign, import, and I can type in polar bears, find some images. I've got a whole bunch to choose from. I'm going to go with this Northern Lights one here and select this one and add it onto my page. Maybe give it a little bit of attitude, a little spin there, and add that here too. So in the science classroom, you might have students do the plus sign, import, and search for images. But if they're snapping pictures like a before and after, or they are taking pictures throughout the course of an experiment, for example, you might decide that you want to have them go to the drive if they've already saved those pictures to their drive, or go straight to files, and that will prompt them to pull it right off of their computer. So that would be an important consideration in the science classroom for adding images here. So if you haven't already, I'd love for you to try adding an image. So maybe search for your animal. When I went to search for polar bears here, I did my plus sign, import, image. I typed in polar bear. And if you look here on the left-hand side, I can do any type, a face, a photo, or clip art, or line drawing. If I go to clip art, I'm going to get very different polar bears, right? So I might even pull in something like this and add it to my page as well. So you have a couple different options when you are doing your search. So we've got our plus sign and then our import to add an image. You can do a clip art like me, or you might decide that you want to add in an image that's saved from your computer. I don't have any selfies of me with polar bears, but if I did, this would be a good time to use them, right? I can add them right here to the screen. Now, Julia, you don't have to do just an animal project, right? So you might do that as well. You might do something different, but just to give us a structure for our conversation, this is what I'm doing. And John mentioned doing auto draw, which is another option. So you can go to the pen tool, you might go to auto draw, and you might draw a picture of a polar bear, right? So if I do, I'm just gonna try and do a bear and see what happens here. It's gonna be my best look at it. Ooh, look at this. With just this going for it, I'm so glad you mentioned this, John. Now I feel very confident here, right? I've got my bear. So we're going to pretend like it's a polar bear and we're just going to add this on here. So that's one option. So I can hit the X and I've saved it there. And I can even go to emojis. So I might type in polar bear, or I might do something like cold, right? And get a little snowflake to go along here too. So lots of options as well.
Monica, real quick, could you show how to make your text larger?
You
We had a
bet.
question in the Q&A about that, and be a good way
Yeah.
to demonstrate.
So I've got my title here, but if you remember when I typed it in before, so I'm going to do, I'm going to do my plus sign and my text. When I typed it in, so I'm going to say by Monica for this example, it's kind of small, right? Nothing too exciting. But if I move it down here, maybe to the bottom of the screen, and I tap on it to make sure it's got the blue box around it, I go to my inspector button, and here's where that magic happens, right? I can change the font size, I can change whether it's bold or not, and I can choose a different font. So the Open Dyslexic font is great. There's a whole bunch of them to choose from. And so remember, I have to click on the text. So it's blue around it, the blue box, and then I'm going to go to the inspector button. Yeah. And John just put a great link in there too with an awesome resource. Book Creator has so many wonderful support resources and articles. That would be a good thing to just know about in case you're sharing some support resources with families. So let's jump back over to our steps for our project that we're creating today. And here you might decide that you want to use the pen tool. So you saw me do this with auto draw, and I'll take you out to show you more of the annotation piece. So I might draw an arrow and add that here to point out something. So let's try that together. In my book creator view, I'm going to go to the plus sign. You saw me go to pen tool before. This one has a whole bunch of pens. I did auto draw, but I could also do something like this, which might have a little bit more of a fun kind of glittery draw that I want to do here. Maybe I'm going to do a little bit of an arrow and point to where the northern lights meets the horizon. Then I can hit done. And it's going to add this here. And if I was off a little bit, I can still move it around, or like you saw me before, maybe tilt it a little bit if I need to, and I can add that right in here. So the pen tool in a science classroom is fantastic, a must try, because you might have students mark up an image, circle different things, draw different things, highlight different things. You can even have students take a screenshot of text and add it in here and highlight that too. So really great in a science classroom if your students are looking for new ways to annotate text or a diagram that they want to label, right? Lots they can do with the pen tool. Now, in addition to the pen tool, you might also want to try out recording your voice. So underneath the text tool, so plus and then getting all your media options, you have the record button. This will allow you to record your voice and add a button to the page. So let's try it out together. I'm going to go to my plus sign. I'm going to tap on record and let's start recording. Polar bears are my favorite animal. I've researched all about them, and in this book, you're going to learn some fun facts about polar bears. So because this is my cover, I wanted to make a little bit of an intro, and I could add this really anywhere on my page, maybe even make it a little bit bigger so it stands out. And one great thing that maybe you haven't tried out yet, if you haven't been in Book Creator recently, is that I can click here, go to my inspector, and I can add a transcript. So this would allow me to automatically generate a transcript. It's going to pop up in just a moment or two. Once I hit X, it'll still keep working. And as soon as it's ready, a little icon will be added right here with the transcript from my voice using the same technology that's down at the bottom of the screen for my my voice to text with the live captioning. So we'll see that in a moment when we come back to this. But here is my audio and it has my transcript. If you want to add a transcript to audio, maybe you recorded in Book Creator a week or two ago, all you have to do is tap so it's blue, then go to the inspector, and here's where you would add your transcript. You can see mine is working on it right here. So I'm going to get quiet for a second so that your voice recording doesn't have me in the background, but why don't you try recording your voice? You can do what I did, which was give a little bit of an introduction, right, to what's going to be in my polar bear book, or maybe tell a story about the animal that you chose or why you chose it. So go ahead and try it out. Like I said, I'll get quiet for a moment while you press record, and I'll take a peek at the chat to see if any questions are coming in. All right, so maybe you tried out the recording button, and you can see here my transcript's already finished. If I click on it, you'll see it says, I think everything I said. I don't think I have to do any edits, but if I needed to, I could jump in here and edit this if I wanted to. So recording is great. As you can see here, what this does is it allows you to differentiate this activity for your group. So you can decide on if you want to have some students use voice, maybe use voice to text, having them record a video, lots of options that you can explore right from within here. So in addition to recording your voice and adding audio, you might also decide to add some shapes. So when you add shapes to your page, this is a great way to organize information, to have things highlighted or jump out to gather, to grab someone's attention, right? Or gather certain pieces of information all together. So let's go ahead and take a look at the shapes. To show you shapes, I'm actually going to make a new page. Now with shapes, you might do something where you hit the plus sign, You go to shapes, and then you choose a couple shapes that you want to use. You can always resize them because it's surrounded in blue. I can actually go and change the color. Maybe I'll make this one a light blue. Maybe I'll go back to my shapes here and put another one. Maybe I'll overlap it here, and I'll go and make this one maybe a different shade of blue, right? So I could play around with how I want this to look on the page. And this could be something that I use to organize different information. So if I have those shapes, I could go to the text and I might say this is going to be a box that talks all about food. So this might be all of the food that that polar bear eats. I'm going to go to the inspector button, change up the font for this one. Maybe we'll do this short stack. I'll come back and make this a little bit bigger, rearrange it here. And if I really like this way that the text is set up, I can actually do, I'm going to hit done. I can grab this, I can do Control C for copy, or Control V, or I can right click and copy and paste it. And then maybe this one's not about food. Maybe this one's going to be about habitat, and I can add it here. So using shapes this way in a science classroom is great for organizing information, having kids compartmentalize or categorize their research if they've been learning about something specific and they're going to organize it this way. This is a really great way to have them think through the different buckets or categories of information that might come up as they're researching. So once they have something like this set up, they might hit the plus sign here and go to camera. They might take a picture. So maybe they have a huge fish that they're holding up and they're going to say, this is what a polar bear eats. Or more likely, they're going to go to record video like me here. So you'll see me twice now. And now I'm going to tell you all about the different types of food a polar bear eats. And I could blah, 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 and talk all about it and go through, use this video. And now I can take this video and maybe I put some bullet points in my little blue box, or maybe I connect it to right here. And what's great about this is if I go to my inspector button, for this video, I can add captions as well, and I can generate them automatically. It usually takes just a couple, seconds or two, not crazy long. And as if I go back, it's going to still work on them. And this will put captions on my video too. So Book Creator has so many wonderful accessibility features. So I always love pointing them out. And it might be something that you pull into your regular practice as well. Let's head back over to the slide deck and go through a couple more things. I want to make sure we have time for Q&A today too. So if you have questions, you're welcome to start plugging them in to the chat area. Now, you saw me add a shape to help organize information. I'd love for you to try it out too. I use the rectangles with the rounded edges. You might use a talk bubble. You might use an arrow. There's lots of options. So take a moment now to try out using the shape tool to see what you can add to your page. As you do that, I'm going to jump back over to my dashboard and look at all these great books that you're working on. Flamingos and polar bears and elephants and whales. Wonderful. I love all of these different examples. Lots of polar bear love today. Team wombats, awesome. Mealworms, I haven't thought about mealworms in a while. These look great. And I love that some of you are playing around with other science concepts that you're trying out, because we want to make sure that this time is super useful for you as well. Look at all of this. So fantastic. Now, what I want to share with you next is how to share these books that your students will make. So let's go back out here. I'm just going to show you a couple screenshots and then I'll show you live. So to share books, underneath the books are a few different buttons. When you click on the share button in the middle, you've got a couple different options, including publish online. And then you can go to download as an ebook if you want it to be offline, or you can print and it will be a PDF. So let's go ahead back here. I'm going to go to my share button. I can go to publish online, and I can give my book a title. So I'm going to say Polar Bear and publish my book for the whole world to see. Now, it's just 2 pages, so it's not, so wonderful, but an okay start for us for today. So this is what it would look like your students Polar bears are my favorite. Can hear themselves talk, right? Or click on the transcript. As you see here, I've got my video playing here. If I hit twice, and now you can see a little bit there on the screen because it's just kind of small, that the captions are there. I'm going to tell you all about. So if you look there, there's my captions there, including my blah, blah, blah at the end. So that's already in here. Now, and I come back here, say I wanted to publish a whole classes set of books. I could do that if I wanted to. I could go to the settings bar. You'll see that I've got a whole bunch of options, but I could publish all of our books online at once for a public library. I'm not going to do that for us for today, but if you have permission from your students, you could do that for sure. And if you wanted to go into your settings to give students logins, so with just a link, I've done this with students as well. It works beautifully. You can grab the link or a QR code for them and get them right into a library too. So lots of ways to use this for different projects, including our big list of science projects that we looked at today. So I want to make sure that we have time for some Q&A before we finish up, but a couple reminders. Remember, when you set up and share your library, you create the library, you find the invite code, and then you share the library with students by giving them that invite code. So that's the best way, quickest way to get them in. Now, Book Creator sends out a newsletter every month, so there's lots of extra resources you can find in there. They have a wonderful Facebook group. I'm in the Facebook group. I jump in there all the time. I'm always so excited to see what other people are doing in that space. If you want to join in the Facebook group too, just log into your Facebook and type in Book Creator Teachers in the search bar, and it's the group that you'll find and when you type that in. And as I mentioned, there's lots and lots of ebooks and resources, including that one in the middle, 15 science projects for Book Creator classrooms. That's one that you can take a look at and use throughout the school year, reviewing some of the ideas that we talked about together today. So I want to leave a few minutes for Q&A. Is there anything that came into the Q&A box or the chat box that I missed, John? I'm just scrolling back through here too.
Yeah, most of it was taken care of, but there was a good question here. Debbie, do students need to log in? Just thinking about parent permissions and our FOI PPA regulations. So the short answer to this is yes. Students do not have accounts in the traditional sense. They do have to sign in and they do have to join a teacher's library in order to make books. We do have a way for students to join libraries using QR codes. And in that case, you could potentially just give kids generic names and they can join to make books inside your library using the QR codes. But I will say that we do take privacy very seriously, and we have worked with schools and districts all over the country and all over the world, even entire governments where we've signed privacy agreements. So I would imagine that we're probably okay with your school district requirements, but it's definitely worthwhile checking with them and checking our privacy page on our website. Other than that, Monica, there are no more questions in the question and answer section right now.
Okay, so I'm going to take a peek at the chat there and I'll work backwards. So if I missed your question, feel free to plug it back into the chat if it came through early as I'm scrolling back here. So Linda said, where can we find the ebooks? So if you are logged into Book Creator like me and you're here in your dashboard, there's 3 tabs at the top. Libraries is where I am. Discover is where you'll find lots and lots of resources, including some of the books that I mentioned. There's a book on emojis that's really fun I put together for the group, and lots of examples. If you scroll down, you'll see, and there's so you can go back and forth and look at the long list, all of these ebooks, including the science projects one. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this science projects one. I'm going to put the link to it in the chat area. That way you'll have a quick way if you want to bookmark it or you want to tweet it out or share it with a colleague, it'll be right there.
Monica, we have another question. Can you demonstrate how to do a template book?
So for a template book, there's a couple different options. Let me come back here. So I'm going to go back here to my library, and I'll jump back into our library to show a couple different things that you might decide to do. So here we go. So if you are making a template book, let's imagine I'm going to new book here, landscape. I could come in here and make my template with all of the different kind of shapes that I wanted. For us for today, we'll just go here for template, and I'm going to hit done, and we'll just say that this lives here in my library. Now down here at the bottom, I've got a few options, including copying the book. So that's something that I could decide to do. I could copy the book for different students, or if you make a template, say for a small group of students, and you're going to have small groups work and you have the ability to collaborate, you can invite in other students that way too. So that's two quick ways, as I'm being kind of sensitive to our time here, to think about templates. I don't know, John, if you have, oh, thank you for putting that in. Yeah, that's the step by step for copying books. If you do want to copy or move it to another library, say you've got a library of just templates and then you want to move it into a student facing library, you could do that as well.
Yeah, my only suggestion with the templates, I personally am a big fan of making the blank book that I want my students to answer, and then making the student make the copy of the book. It's a lot easier. If you go the other route, it works. You can make a copy for all of your students. The only problem there is you have to turn on collaboration and choose individual students. So it's not like a Google Classroom situation where I can make a doc, hit copy one for everybody, and I'm done. So personally, I like putting the ownership on a student to make the copy. But other than that, making a copy for them and turning on collaboration does work.
Thank you, John, for that too. And that's an important tip when you start thinking about the logistics, right, of getting everyone in, making sure they can access something without having to ask you too many questions along the way. So that might be something to consider as well. But thank you all so much for joining today for project ideas for the science classroom with Book Creator. You can see right there at the bottom of this screen, bookcreator.com is where you're going to go for all sorts of fantastic resources. App.bookcreator.com to just log in and get started. If you're not following Book Creator, make sure to follow along with them on social media. I put my email there, but you can always find me on Instagram or Twitter too. It's at Class Tech Tip. So thank you all so much for joining this afternoon. If you're watching this on YouTube after we've been live, feel free to reach out with any questions, and don't be shy. If you're sharing on social media some great student creations or creations of your own, tag me, tag the folks at Book Creator. Always so excited to see what you're up to, and of course to celebrate the great work that your students are doing.
Awesome. Thank you, Monica. And again, just a quick reminder, this video will be on YouTube in the next day or two. It takes a little bit of time for us to get it finalized and everything like that, but it will be there in the next day or two. And Monica, if you could make me the host again, that would be great.
Oh, you bet. All right.
Okay, excellent. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And thank you again, Monica. Have a good night.